just to be stupid or clever or funny.
Just to sort of poke fun at their own pretentiousness. Maybe they're just being like, yeah, we know.
It's maybe like it's that meta. Because I mean, like,
or do you think they're self-aware enough to? Do you think they're capable of that sort of level of self-awareness?
I don't know, but it's like
if you're at Pitchfork,
well, like what's the difference between? I mean, also in that grants that big of a scale, like 1 through 5, even 1 through 10, like you could kind of come up with like justifications and differences for each one. But 1 through, like, what the fuck is the difference between an album that you rated as an 88 or over an album that you rated as an 87?
Well, our homework assignments were always graded on a 100 to 0.
But those are actual, like, that's a mathematical equation.
So that you don't think that they have a...
God, no! That's fucking ridiculous!
You don't think they push the album through a complicated computer program and it spits out a grade?
Like that old, like it would print out out of the machine itself. Yeah. No.
Yeah, you'd put the cards in and it would read them. And
well, let's just do grades.
Okay, you give it a grade.
So we're doing A, B, C, D, F.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we doing pluses and minuses?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a D minus.
I'd give it a C minus.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty average.
Yeah, well, the thing for me about it is that, like, the parts that are bad are so fucking bad, but there are some moments in there that really worked for me, and directorial choices that reminded me, like, this guy used to really be good.
Yeah, like that, I mean...
and by the way, we're going to spoil the hell out of this, so if you have any interest in seeing the film...
Well, I think it's one of those... Well, I mean, like...
There's no twist or anything.
I mean, if you've seen the trailer, you know what the movie is like. You know what's going to happen. Like, they crash, and a little homeboy has to, like, confront his fears and become the hero that his dad,
knows he can be,
and then that's it. And then you, like, if you don't know that's what the story is, then, like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I do not know what to tell you.
Other than maybe you don't watch movies.
Maybe this is the first movie you've ever seen. Maybe.
In which case, you're in for a treat. Maybe. Because if you've never seen a movie before...
Oh, this will blow your fucking mind. Like, for sure. I mean, after, like, the 5th or 6th one, you'll be like, that first one wasn't so good. In retrospect,
but hindsight but you have nostalgia for it. The way people still insist Goonies is a good movie. Guess what, kids? It's not.
I've never seen Goonies.
The Goonies is a bad movie, but because you saw it at a certain age, you love it. Maybe like
The Sandlot for me.
Yeah, for me too.
Although, is The Sandlot a good movie?
I don't know. We should rewatch it and find out.
I've seen it recently.
So,
I still love it.
I think there are some movies that it's impossible for you to get an objective read on. Like, for me, the original Star Wars trilogy, like, I'll never have an objective read on. Even, like, Clerks, because I just saw it at or Mallrats. Like, all these Empire Records.
Like, Mallrats, I can tell you, like, it's a not that great of a movie. It's a lot of fun to watch. And
it's a good cult movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just more in tune with myself than you are with you. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I've been ghosting for years.
I don't know about you, but shit, I'm fucking ghosting right now, dude. I'm ghosting so hard.
I feel nothing right now. So yeah. Well, go ahead.
C minus.
Well,
yeah. I mean, that's the basic plot of the movie.
Right.
Is Will Smith is this great soldier. He's a general.
Right.
And he ghosts, which is
he pioneered this technique. Yeah.
Well, he didn't pioneer it. He just. I
thought he created it.
Oh, I thought that's what they were going for.
Oh, I thought he was the first one to do it.
Well, no, I think he was the first one to do it, but the whole time.
Oh, okay.
They were trying to achieve that, and he was the first one to do so.
Okay. I thought he discovered it by accident. Well, I guess the movie never really comes down on it one way or another, right? Or is there something?
I don't think so. I mean,
I guess it's not important. Either way, he's the first person to do it.
Either way, it doesn't matter if he did it on accident.
Because he says later in the movie he was out for a run by himself, which none of them were supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they were confronting these things as a group and trying not to feel scared, or how they would even know that it was possible not to be scared. I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, Will Smith pioneered ghosting. Well, no, his name is Cypher Rage.
Yeah.
The naming of the characters in this movie is
awful.
Great. That's another word for it. Awful.
It isn't great. So he ghosts, which is he doesn't exude any fear. Like, when you're afraid, this pheromone is released from your body. which these crazy monsters
on the humanity's new home, Nova Prime. They've left Earth,
which is such a sci-fi name.
It's lazy sci-fi.
Yeah.
It doesn't even reach. Well, even the title of this film. I mean, there's already a movie called Titan AE, which is Titan After Earth. Like, so this movie's not starting from the most original premise. Although the fear thing is really interesting.
It is for sure.
And it's a great objective correlative too. So yeah, Will Smith's this great soldier, and his son is in training to become like a ranger. They're called rangers. And he finds out at the beginning of the movie that he hasn't earned his black belt. He's a terrible field agent. He's great. His test scores are great. He's great behind a desk. He could ride a desk, but he's no ranger.
Yeah, he's an accountant. Much.
And his dad's disappointed. His dad's very distant.
Yeah, he's very distant.
Military dad.
Pretty much, yeah. And then the mom is like, hey, like, cut him some slack. And so he decides to take him on a trip. He's like,
there's a training mission. They're taking some soldiers, I guess, to a different planet to learn how to ghost. Yeah. So they're taking one of these Nova Prime monsters off planet, which is a great idea.
They're called Ursas.
Ursas, that's right. Which is bear. That's Latin for bear. So they're taking a space bear.
Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, constellations and whatnot.
These are Ursa Uglies.
They, I guess they end up, for some reason, going through, they screw up and they end up going through a meteor shower.
Well, yeah, there was mass expansion. Like, I guess what happens is something exploded, but the shockwave of the explosion hits the ship and basically knocks it. So they have to make a crash landing on
Earth. What year does this movie take place?
I think it's supposed to be like 1,000 years in the future.
And that's what happens to Earth in 1,000 years?
Looks okay.
Well, I guess, I mean... And
there are zebra pigs and...
Well, like, I read some reviews. They were like, 1,000 years, like, there's no way that Earth would undergo that kind of change in 1,000 years. I'm like, well, I mean, if it was something that caused humanity to leave... Like, if something cataclysmic must have happened. Right. And so I'm gonna give it a pass on that.
Well, where they land, there are no ruins of buildings. And it could be that they just landed in an old national park or something. Yeah, there's an active volcano. Yeah. So in the middle of a forest. So I'm not quite sure.
Hawaii.
Maybe are there forests in Hawaii of trees like that?
I mean, yeah, I think so.
I don't know my geography
or like maybe like around the Ring of Fire in the Far East.
But none of that bothers me. Like, they set up the rules, and I'm okay with the rules. Yeah. Like, it gets way cold after dark unless you're by one of these geothermal hotspots. Yeah. The wildlife has gotten a lot bigger and more CGI and aggressive. And Will Smith's character, Cypher, is injured in the crash. They're the only two survivors, Will and Jaden.
Cypher and
Katai.
Katai?
Sure.
Whatever.
Jaden.
Jaden speaks very oddly, like with a lisp, kind of almost like a toddler speaks. Like he doesn't really enunciate.
In the movie.
And I was like, and everyone kind of follows that same speech pattern. Right. And this being such a vanity, like the vanity project that it obviously is, I thought that maybe that's how Jaden Smith speaks, and so everyone else was forced to speak like that.
Right. Well, I mean, in Forrest Gump, for example, the kid who plays the young Forrest, Tom Hanks modeled his accent on that kid. So, like, so he listened, because that kid, that's how he really talked, and he was like, okay, well, I'm going to try to sound like an adult version of this. Yeah. So, I mean, it would make sense, I guess, that, you know, they're sort of like, well, this is how he kind of talks anyway. Let's build a movie around it.
Yeah, but
everybody has this weird antebellum Southern, like, somehow, like, the Leonardo DiCaprio character from Django Unchained made it to space and, like, was such an influence.
And was like the Noam Chomsky of Nova Prime
linguistics.
But he speaks. I watched a YouTube video of him doing an interview, and he
sounds fine.
Yeah, he sounds fine. So I was like, that's a weird choice to make.
It's a really weird choice. The movie makes some big stumbles early on that basically it digs itself a hole in the first 20 minutes. It's boring.
Yeah, that's when I fell asleep.
Right, there's this long scene where they're in the ship after they've taken off and they're heading for the training planet, but before the crash, where the kid goes into a restricted area and finds Roy from The Office guarding a dangerous alien that they're taking off world, which is always a great idea. I guess they didn't see the movie Alien because it's so old. Like, they don't understand why that would be a bad idea to take a monster into space.
It's a classic, though.
But, and, you know, there's this long, boring scene where the guy's trying to explain what it does to your body, and...
I thought that was kind of... I don't think that was that boring.
I was tuning out. I was like, oh, I understand it makes... I didn't understand there was a monster inside it. I couldn't understand the voices. I was like, he's trying to scare the kid because he's looking at this rock.
This kind of like a space pod type thing.
Yeah.
I fell asleep after the plane crashes. It was after the plane crashes.
The spaceship?
What did I say?
The plane.
Whatever.
It's like Lost.
Well, that's someone noted that the spaceship looks kind of like a plane, like an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks a lot like the airplanes that L. Ron Hubbard described as being the ones that...
The 747s?
Yeah, with like the rocket ships, like, or the, you know, the whatever. Or like the, you know, the jet engines, you know, attached to them that drop the souls into that volcano. And there's a volcano.
There's a volcano. So clearly Scientology is on this movie. I mean, Will Smith has a story credit.
Yeah. Story by
Will Smith. Like, Will Smith, like, sat in his office.
With his brother-in-law.
Really?
With Jada's brother.
And well, how come that guy doesn't have a story credit?
Well, I think they just like started talking about it.
Oh, and then Will was like, "I'm taking over."
And then, well, I mean, kind of like, you know, like
if you and I were like, "Well, what if there was a volcano, 747, and
like maybe
Jaden and I were there?"
Like, what? Like if we were talking, it's like, oh, what if there's a way to like, you know, to control your fear, and you know, you'd be like, nothing could hurt you. I'm like, oh, and then that was it. And then like I you know, went on and. You know,
right.
By myself into the story. I mean, if I continued to like talking to you, I'd be a complete dick for not adding you and not giving you credit.
The design of the spaceship doesn't make much sense either. Like, all the passengers sit along a wall like soldiers in like a drop plane.
Yeah.
Before they parachute into Iraq or whatever. Like, it's supposed to be a long-term journey, so much so that Will Smith's character tells Jaden, get some rest at one point, grab some rack time, and then he just falls asleep against the wall. Like, did they just like, no, we got to spend our movie on CGI eagles. We can't afford to build extra, like, a cabin set, especially for a general. Yeah,
like everyone, like his son's like in awe of him because there's a scene before they leave. When a one-legged man is like, "Hey, like, you know, you saved
stand me up."
Like, you, like, yeah, he's like, "Stand me up." And they're like, "No, dog, stand me up." And he's like, "You saved my life," blah blah. And he salutes him, and Will salutes him back, and it's just like,
and the kid's like,
yeah, he's like, "Oh, like, wow, my dad's awesome."
And there's also, we should mention, some distance between father and son over the death of
an older sister.
She was killed by one of these Ursa uglies. And she hid him. I mean, he's just a little boy.
Yeah.
She hides him in like this tiny terrarium where I guess the monster can't get into or doesn't notice him.
The pheromones, I guess, can't release.
Oh, okay, so it can't see him. So she's got him in this sealed environment, and he watches her get killed. Murdered by this monster.
Brutally.
Yeah, like picked up and thrown against. There's some violence.
There's some pretty brutal stuff. Like there's.
So don't take your little ones.
Like, and I thought it was pretty cool, actually. Kind of like a neat little thing they did. They have shots of like people like being impaled.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, I can't believe that got into a PG-13.
And just like, you know, like you know, it's kind of like if you carved a tree.
You tore a branch off a tree, but the stump is still there.
Yeah, and there are like different like spikes sticking out, so you can like impale like 4 or 5 people on one tree, and
those are pheromone triggers.
Yeah, and you see that early on, like, oh, that's just a dope way to show like dead people, whatever.
Right.
And then you see it later on Earth, and Cypher explains that it's a pheromone trigger. It's meant to scare you. I'm like, that's kind of cool, actually.
Like I said, this movie is full of neat ideas that just didn't quite gel in the end. Like, I love the idea. Like, I mean, I think we talked about it in the last episode. Like, the ideas at the non-crazy level of Scientology are really neat. The idea that, like, do these things, follow this, like, get in touch with your inner self, and you can always be happy. You can clear your soul of all this baggage.
Yeah, which is what it's the
That's
same.
Buddhism.
I mean, it's the same thing that Buddhism is, the same thing that psychology is.